Sure, the laughter hit me before I even reached the table. It wasn't a happy sound, it was the kind of laugh that lands like a slap, soft on the outside, sharp underneath. I walked into the private dining room and saw my sister, Delaney Crow, glowing at the center of the room as if she owned the very air. Her engagement ring flashed every time she moved her hand, and she moved it constantly, like she was ringing a bell for attention. My mother spotted me and wore that specific smile she reserved for strangers and disappointments. "There she is," she said, a bit too loud. "Our late bloomer." A few relatives snickered. I kept my face neutral and walked toward my seat. Only, my seat wasn't at the main table, It was at the very end, near the kitchen swinging door, where waiters hurried in and out, as if I were a piece of furniture they had to navigate around. I didn't complain. I didn't ask questions, I just pulled out the chair and sat down like it didn't matter. Because when your family treats you like this for years, you learn one vital thing: if you react, they win twice. My name is Kendall Pierce, I'm 26, and in my family, that's the age where you're either a success or the cautionary tale used to scare the younger cousins. Delaney was the golden child, perfect grades, perfect job, perfect friends. Everything she touched became a highlight reel. And me, I was the detour, the wasted potential, the one who used to be smart until she got too emotional. Tonight was Delaney's engagement dinner. The whole room was set for a celebration, candlelight, champagne, glossy menace, and that expensive smell of steak and money. But my family didn't invite me to celebrate, They invited me so I could sit there and feel small. My Aunt Janice leaned toward my cousin and said loud enough for me to hear, "She's still doing that little online thing, isn't she?" My cousin snorted. "You mean that company she won't shut up about?" I reached for my water and took a slow sip. Delaney's fiancé, Grant Holloway, sat beside her. He looked calm, polished. The kind of man who always knew what to say in public. He smiled at everyone, shook hands, and acted like he'd been trained for wealthy family dinners. My mother raised her glass. "Tonight is about Delaney," she announced, her voice sweet as syrup. She has always been focused, always determined. She never let distractions pull her off her path. Then, her eyes slid to me. "And that's why she's the one we can count on." More laughter. Quiet, polite, poisonous. Delaney tilted her head like an angel, pretending she didn't hear. "Mom, stop," she said, smiling. Then she turned to me. "Kendall," she asked, "tell everyone what you've been up to." There it was, the spotlight I didn't ask for. I stared at my plate. I could have lied and made it easy, I could have said I was between jobs just to give them the story they wanted, but I didn't. "I've been working," I said simply, Delaney blinked as if she'd hoped for something more pathetic. "Working where?" "At my company." My father leaned back in his chair and laughed like it was a joke made just for him. "A company," he repeated, amused. "Be serious." My throat tightened, but my voice remained steady. "I am serious." My mother sighed dramatically, as if my words exhausted her. "Honey, we just want you to be realistic. Delaney is starting a real life, a real future." Delaney's smile sharpened. "And honestly, it's okay if you're behind. Some people just take longer." Behind, that word had followed me like a shadow. I kept my hands folded in my lap so no one could see my fingers tensing. Then, silently, I felt a shift. Grant wasn't looking at Delaney anymore, He was staring at me. Not in a rude way, but as if he'd just recognized a face from somewhere he couldn't quite place. He leaned toward me slightly. Careful, as if he didn't want the room to notice. But the room noticed. Grant's voice dropped low. "Wet, Kendall Pierce?" he murmured. "Are you the one who?" Delaney's smile froze. My mother's fork stopped in mid-air. Even my father went silent, The whole table leaned into that silence like it was the edge of a cliff. Grant swallowed, eyes locked on mine, and finished the question in a whisper that somehow echoed. "Are you the founder of the Pearson Company?" The room stopped breathing. And I didn't rush to answer. I let the silence stretch, long enough for them to feel what I'd felt for years, small, uncertain, afraid of what the truth might be. I slowly raised my eyes to Delaney, and for the first time all night, my voice didn't shake at all. Yes, I said. That's me. You could have heard a pin drop. That was the level of silence at the table. Delaney's smile didn't disappear. It cracked just enough for the panic to show through. Her fingers tightened on Grant's arm, not with affection, but with possessiveness, as if she feared he was slipping out of her control. That's funny, she said, laughing too quickly. Grant, you're getting things mixed up. Kendall has always had big ideas. Big ideas, the same words she'd used for years when she meant delusions. Grant didn't laugh. He didn't look at Delaney at all. Instead, he leaned back slowly, studying me as if he were putting together the pieces of a puzzle that suddenly made sense. No, he said calmly. I don't think I am. My mother cleared her throat, a sharp sound of nerves. Grant, dear, perhaps now isn't the time. I'm fairly certain it is, he replied, polite but firm. That was when my father finally spoke. Kendall, he said cautiously, as if walking on broken glass. What exactly did you mean by founder? Every eye was pinned on me again. This time, I didn't feel small. I felt steady. I said evenly, that 2 years ago, when I quit my job and everyone said I was throwing my life away, I started a logistics software company. Quietly, without investors from this table. Aunt Janice blinked. Software, yes, my cousin Lily whispered, like real software. I nodded once. Enterprise level? Delaney let out a small laugh that sounded like a plea. Okay, this is getting weird, Kendall, You don't have to exaggerate just because tonight is important. Grant finally turned to her. Delaney, he said gently but with a hard edge. I've seen the contracts. Her face lost all color. What contracts? My mother asked. Grant stood up, buttoning his jacket slowly. The ones your sister's company signed with North Shore Freight, Gray Line Systems, and 2 international carriers. My heart beat once. A solid thud of calm. I work with acquisition teams, he continued. We audited Pierce & Company last quarter. The words fell like dominoes. My father stared at Grant. Audited for what? Grant looked at me, then back at my family. For a potential buyout. Delaney stood up so fast her chair screeched loudly against the floor. That's not funny, she snapped. Why are you doing this? I stood up too, Finally, not to confront her, but to be at her height. There's something you should know, I said quietly. I didn't come tonight to make announcements. My mother looked shaken now. Then why? I came because this was Delaney's night, I said, And I didn't want my absence to be another story about how I couldn't handle her success. Delaney's eyes were burning. So this is revenge. I shook my head. No, this is just reality catching up to you. Grant stepped back slightly, giving us space. Delaney, he said, you told me Kendall was struggling. I said she was still finding herself. And I am, I replied calmly. Just not in the way you wanted me to. My father rubbed his temples. Kendall, what is that company worth? There it was. The question that always came last. I'm not selling, I said. But the last valuation was 8 figures. The silence after that was different. No mocking, no laughter, just shock. My mother sat down slowly. 8 figures, I nodded. Janice opened her mouth, then closed it. Shh, but you never said anything. I tried, I said softly. You told me to stop dreaming. Delaney looked like she'd been punched. You let me think you were behind. I met her eyes. You wanted to think that. Grant exhaled, almost impressed. This explains a lot. Delaney turned on him. What does that mean? It means, he said carefully, that when I asked you why you were pushing so hard for a prenuptial clause that limited shared assets, you said it was just good planning. My mother gasped. Delaney, is that true? Delaney's voice rose sharp and desperate. I was being smart, Kendall has always tried to compete with me. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I wasn't competing, I said. I was surviving, sure. Grant looked between the two of us, then straightened up. Sure, I think we should pause the celebrations. The word pause hit Delaney harder than stop would have. You can't be serious, she whispered. True, I am, he replied. There are things I need to reconsider. My family watched him walk away as if he were the sun exiting orbit. Sure. I picked up my purse. Kendall, my mother said quietly. Are you leaving? I nodded. I didn't come to take anything from Delaney. Then I looked at my sister, really looked at her. Sure. I just needed you all to stop taking things from me. Grant held the door for me as I walked out. Outside, the night air was cool and clean, as if the world had been reset. Kendall, he said, stopping me gently. For what it's worth, I respect what you've built. I smiled. Thank you, sure. As I walked away, my phone buzzed. A message from my heel confirmed. Expansion approved. Congratulations. I put the phone back in my pocket. Sure. Behind me, the engagement dinner was falling apart. In front of me was a life that finally belonged to me. And for the first time, sure, I didn't feel behind at all.